Hi, this is Savannah,
And this is Brian from the Dorky Diva Show,
and you're listening to Star Wars.
the best place for below average Star Wars.
In a world where people need 80s and 90s movie reviews, two regular Geordies combine forces to bring you the Brother to Brother 80s and 90s movie review podcast. Check them out on Twitter, YouTube, and all decent podcast vendors.
Star Wars, best place for below average Star Wars.
Hello there, and welcome to the Star Wars Show, the best place for below average Star Wars. I am the Geordie Jedi Pete.
And I'm Jason Hondo Ling.
And I'm Kat Riesielke.
And we are back with a brand new episode of Star Wars, diving into all the latest Star Wars news, whether it be about movies, whether it be about TV shows, whether it be about collectibles, whether it be about auctions, whether it be about Star Wars celebrations. All of the Star Wars news is what we like to talk about all of the time. Jason, let's dive straight in with you. I know you've been getting excited about, obviously there is a charity auction taking place with the late Jeremy Bullock's Star Wars collection that he collected throughout his career. Jeremy Bullock, of course, the actor who portrayed Boba Fett. And this auction is for the benefit of, Parkinson's UK?
That's right, yep.
And is that taking place on May the 4th?
It is indeed, via East Bristol Auctions, and it just says that a substantial donation from the proceeds will go to Parkinson UK. But I've just been having a look through, and there's so many very cool items in there, not just Boba Fett related and obviously related to Jeremy, but there's also a lot of autographed photographs and memorabilia that Jeremy collected over the years that he was on the convention circuit. So it's not just for Boba Fett fans. If you take a look at it, I found it obviously through the Trusted Jedi News website. There's a link there to go and have a look at what's on offer, and obviously you can place bids online. So there's lots and lots of goodies on there.
Might be worth taking a look. Star Wars fans, you might see something you like, and you might be able to get a bargain. If not, you might be able to, if you saved your money up, you might be able to get yourself a Holy Grail item.
Yeah.
Kat, is Star Wars auctions anything you've done before?
Not at all. Unless you count the some of the Legends books I've managed to get off eBay, because fun fact, I've never lost an eBay auction. I've got a pretty good track record there. But no. However, I do think it's wonderful that these items are going to proceeds for charity and finding then sort of a new lease of life with other passionate Star Wars collectors.
You've never ever lost an eBay auction, is that fact?
That is fact.
I know who I need to be auctioning for me, then I'm going to send you links to things I need, and I'm going to get you to sort it all out.
You do that. You do that. I'm like 4 with sort of in Avengers Endgame. I sort of intimidate people into backing off from bidding against me because I'm so fast with my bids.
But I think getting back to the auction, you've hit the nail on the head. I think it's going to raise some money for charity, which is fantastic. And these items that were part of Jeremy's collection, obviously he's no longer with us. Jason put it perfect. They're going to find a new lease of life with a fan who's going to appreciate it quite a lot and give it a lot of attention and care and be really happy with the pieces that they get, which is absolutely fantastic. Moving on from that, there's been some Kenobi news happening sort of for the past week and a half, really. But let's just dive into today's news, where Disney Plus have dropped the new promotional banner for Kenobi coming to Disney Plus. And it sort of features, on the left-hand side and the right-hand side, you've got Obi Wan Kenobi's face and Darth Vader's face close up. And then in the middle, distance out, you've got sort of the silhouettes of sort of Kenobi and Vader fighting. And then you've got sort of a lot of sort of dark blue electric mist in the background, which is sort of, it's almost very Rise of Skywalker, but also very Revenge of the Sith, is what I was thinking. Kat, what were your first thoughts when you seen this banner come up?
The lighting on it is so dramatic, and I do love the Revenge of the Sith vibes. In particular, Darth Vader's helmet, he's looking downwards, and there's sort of red and orange light reflecting off the helmet, and that is very similar, I think, to a Revenge of the Sith poster, because it's just so dramatic, and it's sort of great juxtaposition because Vader is looking down, whereas Obi-Wan is looking up, and I think that sort of ties into their characters really well. And sort of, Obi-Wan is looking to the future, whereas Vader is much more stuck in his dark past and sort of stuck in regret. And then that sort of hint of the duel between them in the middle. Again, that is a beautiful bit of composition, because they're on opposite sides of the poster, because they are literally on opposite sides. And then when they do meet in the middle, of course, they're fighting because of one being Imperial, the other being a Lost Jedi. So I think it's such an exciting piece of artwork that has so many layers that can be interpreted.
Definitely. Jason, what was your thoughts when this first broke today and you had a good look at it?
Yeah, I had a peek literally just before we came online, and it's a very Star Wars-esque poster or banner. Like Kat said, it highlights the two. I'm holding out to see how they bring Obi-Wan and Vader together, because obviously, for me it was always the last. I felt that the last time he'd seen Vader was going to be there on Mustafar, so to see them dueling again, it's still something that I'm just waiting to see how they've brought that story to life. But I'm entering into it with an open mind, because as I've said many times, everyone's got their Star Wars story to tell, and there's always a way of getting around little discrepancies. But no, the artwork for Vader, I just love the way they've got the helmet there, and the way the light's reflecting. Just, it is Vader, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with it.
Yeah, I think for me, it's exciting because, we've had the teaser trailer. We know the series is coming. It's coming at the end of May. We're almost in May now. It's a month away. I think this banner, the images so far have been about Kenobi and the Inquisitors. But this banner sort of shown us the main business. We're going to be getting Anakin, and Obi-Wan 2, Darth Vader and Obi-Wan 2, how you want to phrase that. And I think it's going to be pretty emotional and pretty spectacular. And I think this banner, so simple but so effective, of, we get to see the emotion on Obi-Wan's face in that close-up. We get to see almost the, the non-emotion of Vader, of what his mask actually shows on the right. And then obviously we've got the battle being teased in the middle. And I just think that use of the sort of blue lightning mist in the background sort of helps blend together prequel trilogy vibes with sequel trilogy vibes, which I think is probably an important thing to try and do, especially if you can do it subtly. I'm also excited that, we're hopefully going to see Kenobi deal with these Inquisitors not easily, but also not too much of a challenge. And then, like I said, the big bad Vader is going to have to come get involved. And that's how we're going to get the serious drama and emotional pulls of this series. Speaking of Inquisitors and the Kenobi news that continued sort of all week, Rupert Friend, who is playing the Grand Inquisitor in the Kenobi series, he's been on the One show, and he was also at the Netflix premiere, the world premiere of his Netflix series, Anatomy of a Scandal. Has been on talking about the role. Nothing spoilerish, but when he was on the One show on April 12th, he was sort of talking about the challenges of working inside the prosthetics, of sort of the makeup and the face and the prosthetics on that, and then also the actual suit that the Inquisitor says, talk about how sweaty it was, sort of sweating buckets inside the prosthetics, and sort of looked like a miserable clown by the end of the day. But he also spoke about how rewarding he found it, said it was so worth it, and essentially saying he was excited to be part of Star Wars, which I think, I'd imagine anybody who gets involved with Star Wars is excited to work on it because of how special it is working on those sets. It's like being transported in another world, and also, so many fans love this world, these stories that, you become a part of something special. And then on the red carpet of the world premiere of his Netflix series, Anatomy of a Scandal, he was sort of being interviewed. Obviously, Kenobi comes up. That's the main event, is Kenobi, sadly, not his other series. But he's essentially said that there's going to be wonderful cameos from people he can't tell us about, obviously, and that there's Easter eggs galore. So, take what you will from that. I would say, cameos, you could class the Grand Inquisitor as a cameo, the Fifth Brother as a cameo, I suppose, because the characters we already know. Vader, he's not a cameo, but he's a character we already know. Uncle Owen and Beru, characters we already know, so he's not really giving too much away there. It's stuff they've been upfront with us about. Kat, what did you make of Rupert Friend's comments, and are you excited to see what the Grand Inquisitor does in this series?
Definitely. I think from his comments, it sort of makes sense now where they went, I think, with the costume and the makeup. I think what he was sort of hinting at is that I think the Grand Inquisitor must have quite an active role. And to do that, you've got to be in makeup and costume that allows an actor the freedom of movement painlessly as possible, to be able to do that. He's got to be able to actually act underneath all that. So it does make me sort of accept the makeup more. Okay, he doesn't look like he does in the Rebels series, but it had to be done just to make him as an actor more comfortable to be able to play the role. So that I can accept. And yeah, I mean, sort of when he doesn't give anything away, he's definitely keeping to his NDAs, but it did make me think that the Grand Inquisitor is going to have quite a significant role in this series, more than a cameo, if he was putting that much work into the character. And I'm definitely excited to see that the Grand Inquisitor is sort of, he's Vader's right hand, in the sense that he's the one who goes after rogue Jedi, anybody who's left from Order 66. And his relationship with Vader is very complicated. And there's a possibility that he, because he was a Jedi Temple Guard, he knew Vader as Anakin. So there's sort of a lot of messy history there. I'm not sure how much they'll go into that, but it will be interesting to see that dynamic, because that's one thing we never saw in Rebels, is a dynamic between Darth Vader and the Grand Inquisitor. We only saw that a bit in the comics.
I think what I'm excited for is, as a Temple Guard, he's definitely going to know who Obi Wan Kenobi is, because Obi Wan Kenobi was a very highly thought of Jedi and member of the Jedi Council. So now when he gets wind it's Kenobi, is he going to be maybe a little bit almost scared to go up against someone as skillful as Obi Wan Kenobi? that'll be very interesting to see how that happens, and maybe he cries to Vader because he knows he can't go up against Kenobi, perhaps.
Possibly, and I've always wondered if the Grand Inquisitor was one of the Jedi Temple guards who took Ahsoka to trial, and if that was sort of the reason that sort of Vader had this messy relationship with the Grand Inquisitor, is because he, as a Jedi Temple guard, sort of betrayed Anakin via Ahsoka. I have always wondered that.
I think our questions will hopefully be answered in the series. Jason, what were your thoughts on Rupert's comments, and also he's obviously seems very excited to be part of Star Wars, which is always great to see.
I'll be honest, I missed a lot of that because I didn't really. I sort of saw the article and didn't get a chance to read it all as to exactly what was said. I think I've said in the past, obviously, I'm quite excited to see this guy. Although I would have loved to see Jason Isaacs play the Grand Inquisitor. Obviously, the stuff I've seen in the past of Rupert Friend, I think he's going to be a good actor to portray the character that we know and love from Rebels. For me, obviously, as everyone knows, I absolutely love Rebels. Watch it over and over again. I've recently just finished re-watching it again. And obviously the first season is very much the Grand Inquisitor. So to see more of this character, I think bring it on. I'm really looking forward to it. And anyone who's got to go under all this work with makeup and that, you've got to take your hat off to them. Just look at the sort of stuff that they had to do for Rosario Dawson for The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. So these guys, they go through it, and yeah, like they say, sometimes little bits have to be adjusted just to make the character work in live action. So yeah, no, as far as I'm concerned, any news on what's going to happen, although I just can't wait to actually see the story unravel.
Yep, it's gonna be fantastic. Speaking of, Rupert Friend's teased cameos and Easter eggs, Liam Neeson's been speaking this week with comicbook.com, believe it or not, of all places, where they sort of brought up about returning as Qui-Gon Jinn, to which he responded that he would would like to come back as him, yeah. Then also to say, if it was a film, yeah, I'm a bit of a snob when it comes to TV, I must admit it. I just like the big screen, He also went on to talk about how he can't believe it's 24 years since they made Star Wars Phantom Menace, and talks about how awesome it was making the movie and shooting the film in London. I think for me, what I took from this was, I think he's been asked a question out of his professional vision, wasn't expecting it. And I think he doesn't want to deny or confirm anything. So I think he said he would like to return. I think he's mentioned the film thing just as sort of an attempt to get out of the question a little bit. Because for someone who is a bit of a snob, apparently, when it comes to film, he was happy to come back and voice a character for Star Wars: The Clone Wars animation. No problem at all. So for me, I don't take his words quite seriously or as literal as he said. Maybe he meant them that way, but I don't think he did. And I think he's just sort of getting out of the question by just saying a little bit gibberish, maybe. Kat, what were your thoughts when you seen the quotes from Liam Neeson?
Yeah, I did think something similar, because he did come back to voice Qui-Gon Jinn in the Clone Wars. I mean, there's very few people who can impersonate Liam Neeson's voice, so it's sort of essential. If you want Qui-Gon, you need him. And whether he will turn up as a cameo in Kenobi is going to be really interesting to see. It would make ultimate sense, because at the end of the day, Obi-Wan is on Tatooine, not just to look after Luke, but to try and commune with Qui-Gon. That's what Yoda is trying to sort of teach him as the final lesson of his training. I suppose the only difficulty that they'd have if they did want to bring him back for the big screen or the small screen on television is the fact that they would have to digitally de-age him, because Qui-Gon can only be younger after the events of the Phantom Menace. There's no after for him, so that would take some work.
I think you could do it with makeup. I think makeup artists in Hollywood could maybe do that a little bit. And if you're shooting him as like a Jedi Ghost, so he's going to be blue. Yeah, I think you can hide stuff in there as well.
Definitely can hide things being blue.
Definitely. But no, I think he's probably in the series as the Ghost of Qui-Gon Jinn, and I don't take his comments about only wanting to do movies too seriously, because A, he came back to voice an animated character, and B, we all know the Star Wars sets, as we've watched in the Gallery series on Disney Plus. You know, it's not a small budget; it's a very expensive budget, and these sets are even more complex than the Star Wars movies, because they didn't have the I've forgotten the name of it now, but that posh set that they've got. The Jason, what's it called? The set they use now.
God, you caught me out with this one. It's
How do you know?
The big fancy one with loads of LEDs.
Yeah. That thing that they ran down my throats a couple of years ago in the documentary series that we've all forgotten the name of.
Yeah. I've just got to touch on one thing with this Liam Neeson thing as well. For him to say that he's a snob and only really likes doing movies, he's recently just appeared in a very popular television series, Dairy Girls, which aired very close to this interview going out. So it's sort of, to me, I definitely think he's trying to throw everyone off the scent, because we know he's not not just voicing the character. He's actually took on small comical roles for television and even smaller roles in films. So I definitely think he's trying to throw everyone off the scent with these comments, and I'm pretty certain that he is going to be in this series in some form.
I think so. It's called The Volume. The Volume.
That's it. I can't believe I forgot that.
So yeah, I think it's done and done. I take his comments very lightly about being a snob, and I think he's a great guy. I think he's a great actor, and I cannot wait to see him as Qui-Gon Jinn again. I think it's going to be fantastic. Speaking of Disney Plus and The Volume, and as I mentioned, The Gallery, which is the sort of the making of series of the Book of Boba Fett, The Mandalorian Season 1, which was sort of a nice series, and then whether it was COVID or whether it was other reasons, Season 2 was just a one-off episode. We are getting The Gallery coming back. Disney Gallery's coming back to Disney Plus on May the 4th with the Making of Boba Fett special. Jason, is this just a one-off episode, or is it going to be a series?
I'm not sure. I've been trying to do a bit of research. I've got a feeling it's going to really upset me and just be a one-off episode, which I think, when you consider what went into the Book of Boba Fett, I think it deserves a series. And likewise, the next series of Mandalorian, if that's just one or two episodes of The Gallery, I'm going to be a very, very unhappy Hondo, because the first series gave us so much and gave so much potential. I completely get why the second series, they struggled with, it must have been quite a chore just getting the actual series filmed during COVID, let alone trying to film a documentary series. So I get that, but now with the way people started, not even if you say, we've come through, because we've not necessarily come through COVID, but I think people have found ways of working. And likewise, the first series, obviously there was the round tables with all of the directors, and I just feel that they could have really had those round tables done. It was easy to space the directors and film a round table without having, or even done it over Teams or Zoom. It was just something that could be done. So I'm hoping, so fingers crossed, we'll get some good news on that, because as anyone knows, the gallery for me is the best thing. I love seeing how they do the process. I love getting the little tidbits about what goes on during the filming of it.
Kat, are you glad that the gallery's returning on May the 4th?
Definitely. I'm sort of one of those people who I sometimes prefer the behind the scenes to actual series.
Snap.
I love how things are learning how things are made, and the Book of Boba Fett, it hits so many nostalgic vibes, particularly for the prequels. So I think there's a lot there to talk about, and it'd be interesting to see what those, who came up with the influences. I wouldn't be that disappointed if it was only just one episode. It's like a 2-hour one episode. But, they've got quite big directors doing these shows, and they're very busy people. So trying to get everybody at the same time to talk about these things, to sit down and actually interview them properly, it takes a lot of time and planning. So even one good episode would be enough for me. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how they did some of those amazing costumes, and particularly they definitely need to talk about the Maori influence Tamara Morrison brought in, especially to the sort of fight choreography.
Yeah, definitely. I think another thing as well that we don't know about, but this was very early in the pandemic when the series was sort of getting made. The season 2 of Mandalorian, which was just one episode, and maybe the insurance policy wasn't clear about what are we insured for, what aren't we insured for in regards to COVID, and maybe there was looking from the team to like come in and take a risk if they were unsure, maybe. But I would like to think hopefully we will get more than one episode. I think, Kat, you're spot on when you talk about nostalgia and you talk about what Mandalorian and Boba Fett sort of brought nostalgia-wise. I also think like the level of behind-the-scenes features we got for season 1 of The Mandalorian really did remind me of the level of behind-the-series featurettes we got during the prequel era, which was absolutely fun. The extras on the DVDs of episodes 1, 2, and 3 are some of the finest you'll find. And I think it's something that we lacked a little bit in the sequel era. So I would love to see. Hopefully, we get more than one episode of the Gallery series on the Book of Boba Fett. Hopefully. Moving on from that, it's probably linked a little bit to Kenobi as well. Obviously, Hayden Christensen. It's now been revealed that he's binge-watched Star Wars animated shows to prepare for Kenobi. So yeah, he's watched them for all of them, apparently, including Rebels and the Clone Wars, which is sort of exciting news. I think there's a lot of stuff. Even though Vader's not in those series, in Rebels, Vader's not in there a lot, but the parts he's in there are very important. But also, when he's not there, what Ahsoka's going through, I think tells a lot of his story as well. And obviously, Clone Wars, we get a lot of Anakin there, Anakin Padme, Anakin Obi Wan, the relationship, Anakin Palpatine, the relationship, a lot of good stuff there. Anakin going through things in the Clone Wars, especially the vibe, the storyline with the slaves and how he deals with that. Kat, what were your thoughts when you found out that Hayden had been and done his homework and watched all the animated shows?
I think it's absolutely fantastic, and it shows how much he sort of honors the role of Anakin by sitting down and watching all of that. I mean, I don't actually know how much hours, screen viewing hours, that must be between Rebels and the Clone Wars, but it must be weeks worth if you were just sort of watching, even if you were watching quite a few a day. So, the efforts he's put into that. He clearly wants to get this era of Vader right, and I just think it's so fantastic because he's honoring Vader as a character, but he's also sort of honoring all of us as fans because he's trying to bring us the Vader we need for the Kenobi series, and I think it just shows how much of a Star Wars fan he is himself to be doing this. You've got to be a fan of the galaxy far, far away to put the time into that. He really is an ambassador. I always say he's a great ambassador for Star Wars. He's a great ambassador for the fans because he is a Star Wars fan, and I think this just proves it.
Jason, are you excited that someone who's been a huge part of Star Wars, a huge part of 1/3 of the story with the prequel era, has come back to the role, but he's not only has he come back, but he seems sort of very engaged, and he's put this time in here to sort of watch a lot of backstory.
Definitely, and who can blame him? If I don't need an excuse to watch Clone Wars and Rebels, so I don't think he really needs to use it as an excuse because they're worth watching anyway. But no, it shows that he's taking on that the character isn't just his to portray, or he's doing his due diligence, so to speak. He's just very lucky that there was no involvement of Vader in Resistance, so he didn't have to sit through that rubbish as well. But otherwise, I completely, I think it would be irresponsible almost not to do that when you're going back to play this sort of character, because the work that the guys did, to all intents and purposes, in creating a huge backstory for what is now going to be the story that we're going to see evolve on the screen. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing if it will affect his portrayal. Also, does it hint to we're going to see flashback scenes of him as Anakin rather than as Vader?
So I think, I've only seen the first season of Star Wars Resistance, by the way, but I quite enjoyed it, just to get that out there. I've yet to watch the second season. Getting back to Kenobi and Anakin, I think obviously, as an actor, he's not necessarily a Star Wars fan, and he's certainly not into Star Wars as much as we are, who are inside the circle. So I think to go back and watch all of that is quite a big thing to do, and he's chosen to do it. We could just ask the director for notes. No, you could just go to Dave Filoni, who's probably on the set somewhere. Well, I know he's not directing the series, but he would have been involved in the creative process, I would imagine, or someone like that, someone from the story group. What's Vader's head like? What's happened recently with him? And they could just tell him. But no, he's probably doing that as well. But no, he's gone and he's put the time in and watched all this, which to me says he's wanting to do the best job he can possibly do. He wants to fully diverse himself into the character and smash it out. And I think the fact that he has watched so much Anakin as well as Vader, to me, says there is going to be flashbacks to Anakin Skywalker. I think Hugh McGregor hinted at it in an interview in the past where he said seeing Hayden again on set in the robes brought him back to what it was like 20 years ago filming, which to me says it was Anakin as we know him and as we've seen him, as well as Vader. And I think also it makes sense, if Hayden is back as Vader, as Anakin for this series, and as we heard, he's most probably back as Anakin / Vader in the Ahsoka series, then there's obviously quite a lot of work to do for Hayden here. If he's in at least 2 series in the next couple of years, and he's taking it very seriously and he's going to do the best he can. And maybe he's thinking about legacy and how do I leave the best legacy. and how do I do my best for all these Star Wars fans who support us. So I think it is absolutely fantastic, and I think we are getting Hayden as both Vader and Anakin, which I think, why not? If you've brought the guy back, let's do both. Let's do it all. I think it makes perfect sense.
By the way, just to jump back onto the Resistance segue, I didn't mind the first season of Star Wars Resistance. Go watch season 2 and see if you still agree.
So I watched the premiere of season 2 at Star Wars Celebration at the Resistance panel, and I really loved that first episode of season 2. So I haven't had a chance to watch it yet.
I think I've mentally blocked what happened with that. But in hindsight, I think a lot of the issue with Resistance was that obviously there was a lot going on behind the scenes with the sequel films, and obviously Resistance was very reliant on the sequel films. And I think because stuff was changing, I don't think Resistance ever found its feet truly. And I just think the characters were so badly written for. There was quite a few that had great potential, but I just think it fell short. And I do think maybe it wasn't given the attention that it deserved. But that's that's my opinion on it.
I agree. I think it was meant to be something like 4 seasons, but they actually squashed it down to 2, and that did not help the character development. There were some great characters with potential, but they were either killed off like instantaneously, or just not given the greatest arcs. And do not get me started on the General Hux cameo. I still have nightmares about that. Oh my gosh.
So I think for me, obviously, I've not seen the second season, but I think, as we know with animation, it's usually in the can very early on. Once you get the animation right, these things can be filmed in the finished, long before they come out, because of the nature of how long it takes for them to get done. And then in that time, you've had a director change, and Star Wars Episode 9 has changed from Duel of the Fates to Rise of Skywalker, 2 very different stories, 2 very different movies. Has that affected it? Maybe. Also, during the same time period, you have Disney acquires Fox Entertainment. Now, that is a very, very expensive deal. So I imagine throughout all the Disney sister companies, where can we save some money? Because, we've just spent a lot. And is it a case of, okay, we're going to do 4 seasons of Star Wars Resistance. Guess what? We've had the problems with the story because the story's changed, because we've got this whole new sequel trilogy now. The ending's changed completely. Let's just wrap this up. We'll save X amount, a couple of $100 million, probably tens of millions maybe, on not producing 2 seasons of that. And then that's money we've saved, which takes the edge off of the Fox merger, perhaps.
Yeah, I do think it was a victim of circumstances, and I think you've hit the nail there. There was several different circumstances that really didn't help that series, which is sad because, but I'm glad they sort of redeemed it by then going back and giving us the final season of Clone Wars, and now Bad Batch, which I'm hoping is going to be back soon.
And some of the characters have actually gone on to live at Galaxy's Edge, like that gold stormtrooper whose name I can't remember. My god!
Is that not Commander Pyre?
Yes,
Yes,
Commander Pyre.
Jason, I've got something to cheer you up.
Go on then.
Tell us all about the new Lego UCS Landspeeder.
Oh, I thought you said you were going to let me cheer everyone up. I have to say this is one that I know I've got a rough idea of what Kat's going to say on this, and the more I look at it, the more I think I agree. For me, don't get me wrong, it's a really detailed build, looks impressive, but I really don't want it on my shelf. And I know Kat's said to me in the past, and I know we've had several discussions, and we know we agree. There are so many things that should be turned into UCS sets that I really don't think we needed the land speeder. It it just doesn't do it for me. It's not one of the best vehicles in Star Wars anyway. Yes, it's got the nostalgia. It appeared in the first ever Star Wars. It was, there was that side of it. But there's so much more that I want to see. Admittedly, there's some really nice bits that they've done with it, and obviously they've announced a gift with purchase, which I think is actually going to be more popular than the actual set, which is quite a strange thing to say. But yeah, it's one of those. I just don't think it's going to excite people that much. I know I've seen quite a few comments of people saying, looks nice, but I'm not going to pay that much for that sort of kit. What about you, Kat?
I have to agree. I just feel that the Lego designers ride the coattails of the original trilogy nostalgia far too much. I understand that the original trilogy is very special and it holds a very special place in many fans' hearts. But the galaxy is massive. There is so much content that could be made as UCS sets, and the prequels never gets the justice it deserves. It's had, I think, like 2 UCS sets in the over 20 years of Lego Star Wars, and nothing from the sequels has been made as a UCS set, even though there's plenty in there that could work really well. And it's just so frustrating that the Lego designers just don't work beyond really the original trilogy, especially for the UCS sets. And I think, Luke Stanspeeder is a bit of an uninspired choice. We've had it, I think, over 10 times at minifigure scale. And it's just like, well, why have it as a UCS set? I mean, it's not even a particularly impressive sort of vehicle, because it's just, it gets I don't know, combined maybe 5 to 7 minutes of screen time before it's sold to the Jawas. So no, this one doesn't do it for me at all.
I wonder where the decision making comes from, because I wonder if sort of, does it come from sort of a cross between Disney, Lucasfilm and Lego suits, sort of deciding what gets made, and the designers go away and make whatever they're told to make type of thing, or do the designers bring 5 to 10 designs to the table, show them off, and then do the suits then pick which one they want to make based on marketability? Obviously, the land speeder is pretty simple looking, but it is pretty iconic. I think you've hit the nail on the head with original trilogy era stuff. I think maybe certainly the marketing people think, people who are over 40 years old probably have more income than people in their 20s, perhaps. So let's make sets geared towards those, especially expensive ones. Jason, what is the price point on this? Do you know?
I want to say 175. Without having a quick look. Bear with us a second. But yeah,
what is the gift, by the way, as well?
The gift with purchase is the Lars Family Homestead Kitchen, 40531, and this is very exciting because it comes with the first ever Aunt Beru minifigure, and that's going to prove way more popular than the land speeder.
And is it only available with the land speeder?
No, it's not. It's available. So very unusually this year, the Lego Group are doing the May the 4th promotions from May 1st. Very strange. Usually it starts May 4th weekend. But
Is that for
from May
VIPs only?
1st to May 8th, you have to spend £160, which is probably about $175, to earn that particular gift with purchase. So that's, yeah, you either need to buy the land speeder or you need to buy that much in Star Wars Lego. Pretty easy to do considering Star Wars Lego has had a price hike recently. There's also going to be a free Lego Star Wars ATST polybag, and I think a Mandalorian keychain, dependent on how much you're spending. But if you spent the full amount to get the Lars Family Homestead Kitchen, you would get all the other gift with purchases at the same time.
Okay, and it's starting from May the 1st. Is that for Lego VIPs only? Is that right?
No, I think it's pre-order on Lego website, and then they start. Oh no, here we go. The Lego Star Wars Land Speeder set is available for Lego VIPs from the 1st of May, and everyone else from the 4th of May.
I can't believe I knew something about Star Wars Lego that you two didn't. I'm just going to retire now.
Well, I saw conflicting, because I swear I saw it as well, saying that it was up for pre-order on the 1st, not for actual release. So obviously, yeah. But either way, within those 4 days, you could get it. But I personally won't be rushing out to get it.
I just hope that they don't have a repeat of last year and they run out of the gift with purchase, which did happen.
Yes. I think we know of one very unhappy Jedi News editor who missed out on his gift with purchase and wasn't very happy bunny.
Not good at all. You think they'll make enough gifts to match the products that they sell?
Well, apparently there's glut of blue milk Lukes, so you might get one of those instead.
Okay, well, that does kind of match Aunt Beru, so it would make sense.
Speaking of Star Wars games, Kat, have you seen the latest announcement that Amy Hennig and the Skydance New Media team are creating a new Star Wars game?
I did see the headline briefly. Is it supposed to be a Lego Star Wars game or just a Star Wars game?
So it's a Star Wars sort of like not multiplayer, so it'll be a Star Wars like story driven game.
That's really exciting news actually, because a lot of the Star Wars games are sort of multiplayer. I mean, Battlefront is almost completely multiplayer. The story mode on that is quite short, and even Squadrons it was more geared for multiplayer than for single player. So I think definitely need more games, sort of like Jedi Fallen Order, which was specifically, a story-driven game, because we all want to live out our Star Wars adventures. Doing it on a console is a really cool way to do that. So, considering how long it takes though to make a game, we could be waiting a while, especially considering, let's face it, Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga was pushed back, I think, 4 times.
I think the biggest thing for me with this story is that, Amy Hennig, who is, she developed the Uncharted games, really good story-driven games. So at Star Wars Celebration London, she was there at EA Games panel where they showed like test footage of a game they were developing. It was going to be a Star Wars story-driven game. Now, within a year, sort of that company got shut down. It was a sort of a subsidiary of EA, and then the game got cancelled. So, considering I've seen Amy Hennig on stage talking about Star Wars games, and I've seen her present footage of Star Wars games, I wonder if this is like the rebirth of that game, or if it is something completely different. Now they haven't commented either way so far, but yeah. So it's she's already had a working relationship with Lucasfilm and Disney. It obviously ended not in the best way, but now it's back, and I wonder if it is the same product, or is it going to be a different product? But they brought her back in because she's so good at developing these story-driven games.
Well, hopefully it will be second time lucky, and we'll have a new Star Wars game. I think there's so much to explore at the moment, and we also with new eras like the High Republic, in between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, there is so much that's not been explored at all that is completely perfect for a new Star Wars video game.
Definitely. Jason, have you been playing any Star Wars Lego yet? Have you not had a chance?
No, I still haven't had a chance. I've been a busy boy with kids and projects at the moment. So I will get round to it at some point soon. The other thing I'm looking forward to, because obviously I've got the Nintendo Switch, and I was really, really excited to see that the Force Unleashed is now going to be available on that. Because I love that. Well, I love both of those games on the Wii, so I'm going to try and get that for the Switch because I just want to have a go at that again.
And it's not just been re-released; it's in a whole new package with a lot of lovely extras. It's like a deluxe package. I don't know if you saw that. Comes with like Jedi holocrons, art of books, replica lightsaber handles, a walkthrough guide, a lovely steel book. I don't know if it will be available on its own as a standard copy, but from what I've seen, this package they've put together to celebrate the game coming out on Switch, it's a really deluxe package.
Yeah, I will have to try and acquire that because, as I say, it's about one of the only games that I've ever really got into, and I even went as far as I bought all the comic books and novels that went with it. So that was one that I really found myself drawn into, and obviously it was Sam Witwer's first real involvement with Star Wars. So yeah, I'm looking forward to having a look at that again.
It was indeed. Moving on from that, a little bit of sad news to report. IG-11 droid performer Rio Hackford has died at the age of 52. Obviously, there's a lot of people who work on Star Wars, and the people who are creature performers, droid performers. The names aren't necessarily in the stars or in lights as much as the main cast. But if these droids and these aliens didn't perform the way they do, Star Wars wouldn't look as real as it is, and we wouldn't love it as much as we do. So I always try where I can, take my hat off and sort of say thank you very much to all the droid and alien performers, all the puppeteers, everybody who sort of not famous, and I just want to wish Rio Hackford's family and friends just sort of the best wishes I can offer, and I hope that they're getting through this okay. Moving on from that sad bit of news, something a bit more cheery, which I do love. Star Wars Collection Editions. I'm going to go first. So I had a lovely delivery from Hasbro Pulse, Star Wars, the Vintage Collection, because I collect them now for some reason. And I got the Republic Trooper, the Old Republic version, from the Expanded Universe, in 3/3/4 inch. So I bought 3 for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. But they're all unpunched cards. They look fantastic. I've got one that got a bit dinged up, so he'll be the one I open. So yeah, he's the latest addition to my collection from Hasbro. And I also got a delivery from a Facebook group I'm in, Echo Live, where I purchased some Black Series figures that I'm excited to open. I haven't opened it yet, but it has arrived. And in that figure, I believe we do get a Mace Windu in the Phantom Menace card in the Black Series line, and also a Battle Droid. So I'm very excited to have a look at those. Kat, have you added anything Kylo Ren to your collection lately?
No, oh my gosh, everything's been so quiet with all the Kylo Ren merchandise. It's so sad. The latest Star Wars goodie I had turn up was my hardback of A Queen's Hope by E.K. Johnston, which I am excited to read.
Is that book number 2 or 3 in the series?
That's book number 3, so that's the last in the series, sort of detailing the trilogy of not just Padme. It really highlights the handmaidens, and it's sort of celebrating the handmaidens, particularly sort of Sabe, which is sort of Padme's most trusted confidant.
Is that Keira Knightley?
Yeah, I believe, yeah, she was Sabe, wasn't she? Yeah. So, and the artwork on the hardcovers in particular is just absolutely stunning. The front and back covers are just some of the most beautiful digital art I've seen on any Star Wars book.
How good were the first 2 books? Would you recommend them?
I would indeed. The first 2 books are fantastic. So the first book is set during the Phantom Menace, and it explains how Padme actually got her handmaidens, how she recruited them, the friendships she started to form with them, and then the sacrifices they made during the Phantom Menace and the occupation by the Trade Federation. And then the second book is about Padme then becoming a senator and trying to move away from being a queen and embracing sort of her new political role as a senator, and how she tries to sort of balance that with still being very important to Naboo. So that also ties in with Greg Pak's Star Wars Darth Vader 2020 comics. The 2 tie in really well. And then this final book is more set sort of during the Revenge of the Sith era, and sort of focusing on Sabe, and during that time when the war is ending, but there's still a lot of political turmoil. So yes, definitely, if you love the prequels, if you love Padme and the Handmaidens and want to see just how awesome the Handmaidens are, or want to know all about the secret weapons and technology and stuff that's actually hidden in Padme's costumes, then definitely read this series by E.K. Johnston.
Jason, have you done any purchases or acquired any Star Wars items lately?
Actually, there was one thing that I've been kindly given, which I'm going to have a look at over the weekend, which is the Star Wars Battle of Hoth Lego game. So I've been given that for myself and the girls, so I might have a look at that this weekend because I haven't properly peeked at it yet. But otherwise, no, all quiet on the merchandise front. Been looking online, getting very jealous of people going to celebrations, seeing lots of patch designs and pin badges, which I wish I was going so I could do a bit of swag swapping and stuff like that.
Speaking of Star Wars Celebration, I think we've just announced Billy Lord and Kelly Marie Tran going as guests in the last 5 minutes. So a bit of celebration news for everybody. Yeah, I think obviously, celebrations are really gearing up now, as we talked about last episode. Going to be a lot of awesome podcasts there. I know that Sky Talkers podcast will be on the Star Wars podcast stage, and so is Talking B94. Obviously, 2 podcasts who joined forces with us at Star Wars, and we've had some really good Star Wars conversations. So if you're at Star Wars Celebration and you want to check out a podcast on the podcast stage, definitely recommend checking out Sky Talkers. Definitely recommend checking out Talking B94. I'm going to be in Blackburn Rovers Football Club on Sunday, 8th of May 2022 for Star Wars Fan Fun Day, for my Star Wars Celebration experience this year, essentially. So as I mentioned last time, we've got our passes, and me and my friend Luke will be there. So if you see us there, come and say hello and talk Star Wars. We have just purchased our Warwick Davis photo ops, so I'm excited to get a photo with Warwick. It should be really cool, and I'm thinking about getting a Greedo figure signed by Paul Blake when I go. Which one I don't know, but we will wait and see.
Paul Blake's a really great guy to chat to. Really good guy.
But I'm looking forward to that. I think, Jason, you got any Star Wars conventions that you think are going to in the UK later? I want to know that MCM London's coming soon.
Yeah, I'm not sure about MCM London. There's a few local ones started popping up round here that I'm hoping to get involved in. So I'm hoping to try and get along to those. I'm hoping to mix business with pleasure, so see if I can do a few bits there. Also, actually started working on my Mandalorian costume. Obviously, not the Mando, but a Mandalorian. So I've started back working on that this week. So yeah, hopefully might be able to get some progress this year. That's something I've really wanted to do because I do want to join in with the guys that get to go out there trooping. Bit of convention news that I spotted online. Tamara Morrison has had a bit of a adventure at the Supernova Comic Con in Australia, which has been reported via the Boba Fett fan club. And he's actually been gifted his own gaffy stick by the Sons of Obi Wan Saber Academy over there. And if you go on to the Boba Fett fan club or the Sons of Obi Wan Saber Academy YouTube account, there is an absolutely amazing video that shows Tamara receiving it and also his interaction with the guys that presented it to him. And for me, it just goes to show how Star Wars changes some of these actors' lives as well as, the fans. And they get to have a lot of fun. So, yeah, it's a really good video. And obviously, he does a bit of a demonstration with the gaffy stick. And he's just such a fun character when you see him out of the character of Boba Fett. It's a really good video to watch. I don't know if either of you guys managed to watch it. I know I sent it through.
I did. I have seen it, and I think his reaction is absolutely unbeatable. These live demonstration he does with it is so good. I mean, it's just he's a pro with it.
Yeah. Although it's quite comical. As what I liked as well is they presented him with a T-shirt first of all, and he was like a big kid because before they knew it, he put the T-shirt on and he was so proud to be wearing it. And they'd shown him the respect of, obviously, they'd done their research into the Maori side of things, and he could see that. And I think it really touched him, which comes across on the video.
I mean, I haven't seen the video, but I'm glad that that group's done something brilliant for him and he's really enjoyed it. Speaking of like Maori and stuff like that, something that I don't think I've ever just brought it up. I don't know what your guys' thoughts on this are. I don't want to go too deep into it, but when you watch like Bad Batch, and like they're meant to be clones of Django, but they seem like very, very sort of not Maori, if that makes sense. They're like the very sort of white American rather than Maori, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
thought that.
Yeah, there's been a lot online. The news coming out of Lucasfilm, because I was reading an article on this, is that what has caused it is actually an issue with the lighting technology that they use. And apparently that has been changed for the second season of The Bad Batch. because Disney have been accused of whitewashing the characters. So it will be interesting to see how that changes in the next season of Bad Batch.
I mean, it could also be, I mean, the Bad Batch, they are meant to be, defects. So maybe, by having them sort of paler and look less like Django sort of does emphasize the fact that they are not sort of proper clones in that sense. But I do see where fans are coming from.
The criticism has also been that the clones that are shown in the episode also have the same sort of look. But as I say, Disney are insisting that it's something that they're working on.
I mean, it's good. I mean, because Rex does turn up in it, and the thing is, it's quite a dark scene, so the lighting was quite dark anyway, which does change how sort of skin tones appear. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely, if fans are seeing that, then it's definitely something they should address.
I mean, I hadn't seen any of the sort of discourse, but it was just something I noticed when I was watching it, and I really brought up. But then when you brought up sort of Maori in that discussion there, I was like, oh, it sort of reminded me of having that thought about how, the sort of the clones don't seem that similar. If that makes sense. That's interesting to see how season 2 looks when it finally comes out. It will be interesting to see what happens with that.
Definitely.
Jason, have you got is there anything you think we've missed this week to discuss before we wrap it up?
I don't think so. I think we've had a nice variety of good and bad news to discuss. It's lots going on, and obviously, I think I saw earlier, is it 36 days to go till we see Obi Wan on screen again?
Something like that. It's definitely, it's end of next month, and we're now at the end of this month, so it's circa a month away. So yeah, circa 30 odd days. Kat, is there anything you want to add before we wrap it up?
No, I think we have covered sort of everything Star Warsy. The only thing I have seen is that Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga, which is absolutely awesome and I am loving, has actually become the biggest global Lego video game launch of all time, which I am not surprised of.
Yeah, I'm not surprised either, because, I mean, if you take Lego's biggest property probably is Star Wars. So, and then they're like, had the game come out, it probably is the greatest, going to be the biggest one. But also, like people like me I wasn't really bothered about the game. But then, like I said, I saw the trailer, and I saw the people's reactions the first few hours of it launching. And then I went out and bought the game based off the hype that I was seeing and the positivity. So, it was probably already doing really well. And then all that positivity, I think, just increased people wanting to buy the game. And it is a wonderful game. Like I said, I've only played about maybe 6-7 hours on it. Completed A New Hope, and now I want Empire Strikes Back. But I'm absolutely loving the game, and I've never really played the Lego games before, but I absolutely love it. So I think well deserved, and I'm glad it has become the number one Lego game of all time, which is fantastic. But yeah, Jason, Kat, thank you very much for joining me. Always a pleasure talking Star Wars with you two guys, as usual.
Always good.
It's been a blast.
We did do a Pewdie Belter special, which is on the podcast feed now, episode 85, where I was joined by Silva from Into the Garbage Chute podcast. You can find Silva on social media, Star Wars Thrifting or Star Wars Thrift. Silva lives out in California and essentially hunts Star Wars merchandise, and there's a lot of it out there at really good prices. And she's always on the hunt for Star Wars merchandise at thrift shops, at sort of charity shops, at auction houses, sort of wherever she can get her hands on it. And she gets her hands on a lot. And we had a really cool, in-depth conversation about Star Wars collecting. So definitely go and check that out. It was one of my favourite conversations I've had in a while with someone I've never discussed Star Wars with before. Jason, where can people find you on social media?
At Hondoling, as always, and I remembered it.
Hey. Kat, where can people find you on social media?
You can find me at Kat Kylo on Twitter, both with Ks, Always happy to talk anything Kylo Ren, and I do have a ton of screenshots from Lego Skywalker Saga if you want to see what I'm up to in the game.
Does that include shirtless Kylo Ren?
It does. It includes a fantastic screenshot of shirtless Kylo Ren.
Don't encourage her, Pete.
That's what people want. They want to go and look at these pictures. So everybody, head over to Cat's Twitter, check out those lovely hot pictures of shirtless Kylo Ren. I
also have Porgs and the Caretakers and a ton of other cool stuff, but I do have a lot of Kylo Ren.
There you go. So some cuteness and some thirst traps. Lots going on. Moving on from there. Obviously, the podcast, you can find us on Twitter at BorsStar. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Star Wars Podcast. You can also find us on TikTok at Star Wars. Thank you very much for listening. May the Force be with you all. Be safe. If you're going to Star Wars Celebration, have a lovely time. If you're going to be at Star Wars Fan Fun Day in Blackburn on Sunday, 8th of May, at the stadium where Alan Shearer won the Premier League, then come say hello to the Star Wars team. Me and Luke will be there. But as always, remember, always tell that to Kanja Club.
Hello, Star Wars listeners. This is Savannah Odit. You might know me as host of The Dorky Diva Show with my co-host Brian Balance. I am also producer of The Adventures of the Zolan Dart, which is a Star Wars-inspired audio drama that we produced over the last year. If you love stories about smugglers, courage, heroic characters, and maybe a few foes along the way, you should go to thedorkydivashow.com and listen to The Adventures of the Zolan Dart today.
Shout! We've got your pigs.
Were any of the critters harmed?
What did you do now?
I didn't do anything. I just freaked out for no reason.
It was nice doing business with you again. Maybe next time we could deliver something less temperamental.
Now, what you call temperamental, I call fun.
Hey, is there a place nearby where I can make some repairs?
3 clicks south of here, you'll find a small spaceport. They should have what you need, as long as it's nothing too big.
Dynamic class? My stars, you don't hear about many of those still being space-worthy.
It's been in my family for a while.
She's pretty great. Any chance you have a hover cart we can use to load up?
I'll check out the HoloNet to see if anything new has come up in the sector.
My name is Sereth Khan. I am the chief here on Kamai. My people and I have been experiencing food shortages as of late due to unforeseen natural occurrences. We are looking to hire someone.
I say we take this one. The pay is great, and it's the type of job we're familiar with.
Welcome. You must be Captain Otoa. I've already sent word to Pack 2 to expect you in the next cycle or so.
You told him we were coming before we even accepted the job. That's rather presumptuous, isn't it?
Perhaps, though once I received confirmation that you were interested and on your way here, I couldn't help but hope.
Fair enough. Well, we'll be back as soon as we can.
Well, that's not good.
Is that blaster fire I hear?
So you're the one.
Captain, it sounds like they want to do this the hard way.
I love when they got some fight in them.
This is bad. This is bad.
We're about to have a lot of company.
I'll see you soon.